Welcome to my channel, Sonia Unapologetic. My name is Sonia, or welcome back if you've been here before. Before we go any further, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post a video. So this video is about celebrity couples and what happens when they're going through a breakup or just having a disagreement. Just the way people out there perceive one as the villain and one as the hero. And why is that so? And I think it's because things like unconscious bias, misogyny, misogynoir, also parasocial relationships, and just some old-fashioned intellectual dishonesty. This is based on me seeing what's happening with Jeannie Mai and Jeezy, and of course Will and Jada. I was watching a live stream with the Plainest Jane. She is a YouTuber, and I said that Jada Pinkett is really like grasping for straws right now to not be seen as the villain.
Someone says Jada is scrambling and pulling at straws not to be the villain in this disaster, but I think he benefits more from this relationship than she does. He is seen as the beloved protagonist in their story. I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Will Smith has a long list of things that he's done wrong in the relationship, and his list is not shorter than Jada's list. But why is she perceived as the only villain in the relationship and Will is seen as the hero that Jada needs to be protected from? So like when I look at Will's list of things that's happened to where Jada gets a lot of hate for doing these same things, but Will is like, people act like it never happened. So Will did an interview with GQ magazine last year, and this was him promoting his memoir. And he said that he has engaged in extramarital relationships.
Will Smith is continuing to get candid about his marriage to Jada Pinkett Smith. The 53-year-old actor is featured in a new cover story for GQ and discusses the revelations in his upcoming memoir titled Will. The Philadelphia native reveals that Jada was not the only one engaging in other relationships outside of their marriage. He explains, quote, "We have given each other trust and freedom, with the belief that everybody has to find their own way, and marriage for us can't be a prison, and I don't suggest our road for anybody."
Will, we found out that he takes vacations alone without Jada with his ex-wife. So his ex-wife and him, they go on their own personal vacations. Then also he talked about in his memoir that he would have liked to have a harem of women, including Halle Berry and Misty Copeland. You guys remember the unsavory pictures that he took with Margot Robbie. Even if there wasn't anything going on, it was just a bad look. And then also the Janet Hubert situation, where Janet Hubert said for decades that, Will harassed me on set. He talked bad about me and said that I was difficult to work with and it ruined my career, and basically she got blacklisted because of Will Smith, and no one believed her.
I just wanted to know one thing. Why? Why so far? You guys went so far. I lost so much. When I left the show, I had this new baby and no one. Hollywood disowned me, and I wasn't unprofessional on the set. I just stopped talking to everybody because I didn't know who to trust, because I had been banished. And they said it was you who banished me.
Everything was a threat to me.
Why was I a threat?
Not you, the world. I was so driven by fear and jokes and comedy and all of that.
Yeah, you were live. You were live.
And then also Will Smith, he slapped Chris Rock as well, and Jada was blamed for all this. And I know these days people are constantly saying she is embarrassing him, like she's a narcissist, how she do this, but those things I just mentioned that Will did, it's not something that people think is embarrassing her. Everything that he does is just kind of swept under the rug, or just people make excuses for it. And I think it's just because of that unconscious bias. People do not want to admit that they just like Will more than they like her. And I'm going to name off some reasons why. Not that I agree with this, but people just treat people differently in society because of certain things. Like, Will is handsome. He's a handsome black man. He's considered charismatic. He's seen as this great example of a good black man. He has that financial success, and he starred in one of the most popular black sitcoms of all time. I think for Jada, a lot of people look at her as inauthentic. She's had extramarital affairs as a woman. And so people seem to feel like it's worse her having an affair or just being with someone while she's still married. And people will dismiss Will doing it. Her age, even though he's older than her, I think it's like people will look at a 60-year-old man and a 50-year-old woman as if she's like 30 years older than him. Jada Pinkett, she, over the last few years, she's been bald or just having very short hair. And even like in the beginning of her career, she had really short hair. And I think a lot of times people really put a lot of emphasis on femininity when a woman has long hair. And people sometimes seem even outraged if a woman cuts her hair off or shaves her head bald. And Jada Pinkett has said that she has alopecia, and I feel like a lot of people, they blow it off and they act like they don't believe it. So I don't know a lot about alopecia. I mean, it could just be that she has some stress-induced hair loss, but people still seem to like give her a hard time about it, almost like shame her for the hair situation. I think a lot of people just don't think that she deserves Will Smith. I think there's a lot of narrative out there when there's a good man, a high value man out there. It's like, as a woman, you have to be perfect to deserve that man. And I think women and men feel this way. I think that's why she's getting a lot of outrage and a lot of backlash. I think that people, there's maybe some jealousy of she gets to have Will Smith, and if I had Will Smith, I would just sit back and keep my mouth shut and I would never complain. And I think also people are mad because at the beginning of the relationship, it's almost like Will had to chase her, and he went to her and said, okay, are you single? And she's like, yeah. He's like, well, not anymore. We're in a relationship. And I don't know. I just think a lot of people, because they love Will Smith so much, I think there's kind of some resentment that Jada gets to be married to him, and then people feel like, if I got to be married to him, I would just be perfect. And then also Jada had a relationship with Tupac. So I feel like in the black community, people feel like Jada has had access to or relationships with like the biggest, most successful, good black guy with that sense of humor. So that's Will. But then she got to have the most successful bad boy rapper out there who was Tupac, and he was like that likable bad guy. So I think people, there's some resentment that Jada had that access and that connection to Tupac. So I think a lot of times people will say, I dislike Jada because she talks too much, but Will put out a memoir as well. Or she cheated, but even though they said they were on a break at the time, it's just, I feel like, and I'm not just this biggest fan of either one of them, but it just confused me for so long as to why she got so much more hate than him, or maybe just taken all of the hate. And I think it's because of this unconscious bias. And I think at this point, there is nothing that she could do. Jada will always be considered the villain, and it does not matter what Will does. There's a meme going around to where there's picture of Will Smith, and then he starts to morph, and then like he turns into O.J. Simpson. And the meme says every time Jada does another interview, it's like Will Smith is turning into this man who would unalive his partner. And the fact that it's a meme, it's like people think it's funny, and I think people will make it seem like, oh, well, you know, we wouldn't forgive him if he did something to her, if he hurt her. But I'm not quite sure, because we see what happened with O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson. I was going to talk about that later, but why don't I just go ahead and talk about that now? O.J. Simpson was this beloved Hall of Famer, and I think that people were really blinded by the fact that they were such big fans of his. This man unalived his ex-wife and her new boyfriend, and I feel like people knew that he was guilty, but there was just a lot of this feeling of, well, the Jews can't go to prison. I remember when he was found not guilty, the verdict came in. I was in H-E-B grocery store. I was a teenager at the time. And this woman ran in and she's like, he's not guilty, he's not guilty. Everybody's like, yeah. It's just really weird, because did people truly think that he was innocent, or did people not care? And years later, I saw a lot of comedians who were like, we know that man did it, but it's really crazy. It just makes you feel like if someone's a fan of someone, they just really don't care what they do. And people made excuses and said, well, I support him because he's innocent, when no, you supported him because he's more popular. You knew him, you really didn't know his wife, and you may have followed his football career, or you just saw him as this famous, successful black man and a representation of the community, and you did not want anything to bring down this successful black man. So that could be a part of it as well. So Jeezy and Jeannie Mai. So I remember when they got together, some people were really cheering on, like, okay, he found him a good one. And because of the influence that Jeezy had on his fans, a lot of them were willing to look past her previous statements about dark meat on the side. He went and did this interview to where he talked about, she told me about what she said about dark meat on the side. It was misconstrued. And, you know, she's cool. I mean, she can't be racist. She knows E40. She's cooler with E40 than I am. And everybody's like, oh, okay, well, we didn't know that. Cool. It's like everyone really started to accept her because he vouched for her. But once they were going through a divorce, no one cared about the facts of who was wrong and who was not wrong. If people were fans of Jeezy, then people were looking at her like, well, I wonder what she did wrong. Well, it's probably all her fault because, you know, her mom was always there, and maybe her mom was just a little bit too much in their relationship, even though the news had just broken like an hour ago. Everyone had already made up in their mind that she was the guilty party. There was even one lady, I think that was a discussion with Tamar Braxton, to where the lady said, well, I mean, she said dark meat on the side, now dark meat then put her on the side. It's like no one thought about, let me wait to see, or I'm not in their relationship, so I can't take sides and say that one person is guilty over the other one. I mean, this is another couple to where I don't listen to his music. I can't tell you the last time he came out with an album. I don't know, because I don't listen to his music, and I don't really follow her that much either. I remember The Real, and I've watched some episodes of The Real, but I'm not a fan of either one. But I do notice that the people who were fans of his, once they are going through a divorce now, then those people are like, I mean, listen, Jeannie Mai, I was only cool with you because you were with Jeezy. Now that he's divorcing you, I mean, I don't want nothing to do with you. So then we think of Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union. So it feels like in this situation, for the most part, Dwayne Wade is seen as the protagonist and the good hero in their relationship, and Gabrielle Union is seen as the villain. And when I list off all these things, I don't agree with this measurement of who is the good person relationship versus who is a bad person in a relationship, but just it's my observation as to why sometimes one person relationship gets all the hate and everyone rallies on their side over their partner. And for some of these lists of people that I'm naming off, you might feel like the exact opposite. Like with Gabrielle Union, Dwayne Wade, you might feel like, no, I look at her as she's the hero in a relationship, and I look at him as he's the villain, or I just don't care either way. But just kind of my commentary on this. But Dwayne Wade, again, he's that male, he's the ex-NBA player, he's tall, he's perceived as attractive, and he has that financial success, and he has more money than what she does. She's looked at as the mean girl, and she's older than him. So you know how people treat the older woman? It's almost like people feel like, well, she don't deserve him. How did she get him when she's older than him? Like he should be the successful man with a woman that's 10 to 20 years younger than him. Also, allegedly, she started dating him while he was still married. So even though that would make both of them guilty, it's like she's going to take all the heat for that. Then I'm going to talk about Tupac and Biggie. Now, Tupac and Biggie, not that they're a couple or anything, or were a couple or anything. I'm just talking about them because I remember when Tupac was unalived. I remember when Biggie was unalived, of course. I remember the whole East Coast, West Coast beef. I remember all of that. And it just comes down to that unconscious bias. When the whole East Coast, West Coast beef was going on, people did not care about the truth. And I just remember it's like we were getting this information real time of all these rumors going on out there. And once Tupac was unalived, then people were talking about, you know, Biggie is responsible, and no one cared to truly wait and understand the truth. People were so emotionally invested. People had these parasocial relationships with these celebrities, and people were acting like they knew them personally or like this was a family member. And I remember I was a kid at the time when Biggie was unalived. Little kids were out there like, yes, yes, we're getting revenge for Tupac's unaliving. And not just little kids, grown people were so emotionally invested. And those parasocial relationships can be very dangerous. You just see the fan base of someone, they're so emotionally invested in what's going on with celebrity. People will be out there sending unalived threats to someone to defend the celebrity that they've never met. I want to talk about what happens when each person in the relationship is equally liked. Like Nicki Thot and Jamie Perkins. Nicki Thot and Jamie Perkins, they were a couple on YouTube that everyone loved, but then they went through a divorce. And Nicki Thot, she is the sister of Ducky Thot. Ducky Thot and Nicki, they're both so gorgeous. Ducky Thot used to date Kofi Cerebo, who was on Queen Sugar. So again, she is just so beautiful. I remember first seeing her, I just stared. She just looked like a doll, so beautiful. Anyways, so when Nicki and Jamie first were going through their divorce, Nicki announced it. Everyone used to love Jamie, but now everyone's going with their pitchforks and like, we hate Jamie now. And then 4 years later, Jamie finally released something and he said, well, Nicki cheated on me with her ex and she was abusive towards me. And no one even gave thought to it. Her own fan base were running to shame her online and threatening that her endorsements and brand deals should be taken away. People were flooding these brands to try to get her to lose her money. And then also at this point, Nikki is showing online that she's dating someone else. So we don't know if this man is just mad. And I think that there was footage out there of him like shoving the camera in her face. And then she's upset like, hey, get the camera out of my face. And then he's using that as, you see, that's proof that I was an abused man. I don't know what happened in their relationship. He could have been an abused man. She could have been an abused wife. Who knows? I mean, they could have both just been equally responsible in their relationship ending, but it just shows how people get so emotionally involved in what's happening with people that they don't know, and they don't care about the truth, and everyone's looking for someone to blame. It's getting really weird. And then since it is October and Halloween is this month, another pair, I'm going to talk about Pennywise and Freddy Krueger, which I saw that someone posted, well, not someone, Movie Files, the YouTube channel, and he's also on Instagram. He does movie reviews. He posted something saying who would win a fight between Freddy Krueger and Pennywise. And I was shocked to see like most people are like Freddy Krueger hands down. And I'm like, okay, Pennywise is just so complex. You see in it the way he's able to transform into different forms. But then isn't Freddy, can't he only get to you in your dreams? And it's like, okay, what if you're a light sleeper and you wake up? Okay, then it's all over for him. So I just feel like it's some unconscious bias that people aren't even giving Pennywise a chance, when the complexity of him, he would win a fight against Freddy Krueger hands down. It don't matter if you grew up watching Freddy Krueger. I mean, it's about what the truth is and who would actually factually win a fight between the two of them. So y'all just really need to get rid of y'all unconscious bias and give Pennywise his flowers. That is all that I have for you guys right now. Let me know, what do you think about unconscious bias and the way that plays a role in people wanting to find a villain and a hero in these relationships, in these pairings, friendships, or whatever, that these relationships that dissolve. So let me know what you think. Get down in the comments and like this video, and your engagement, just commenting anything, even if it's just hello, that helps my channel. You guys subscribing and sharing my videos, that helps my channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. I'm only 98,800 away from 100,000 subscribers, so we are almost there. So y'all go ahead and subscribe so we can get there. Join the Unapologetic tribe. What are y'all waiting for? It's fun over here. So that is all that I have for you guys. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.